Welcome back to the McConnell Center series, Why You Should Read. My name is Gregg. I'm the director of the McConnell Center here at the University of Louisville. And today I want to introduce you to a book that has been an essential part of my life really since the summer of 1990, I guess, when I had picked up this edition of the Federalist and read it cover to cover. I had just graduated from undergraduate college and was spending a summer working in Washington, D.C. before going off to graduate school. So I spent the summer reading all 85 Federalists. Went off then to write a master's thesis on the concept of representation in the Federalist Papers. Part of my PhD, my doctoral work in my very first book, The Presidential Republic, is based on the concept of representation in the Federalist. Well, we have a real crisis in civic education in America. We all know it. We can see it by watching the news. There have been surveys that have been done right here in Kentucky by our Secretary of State, Mike Adams, in conjunction with the McConnell Center and other organizations have done studies, but they've been studies all around the country. We sort of all know this. Students don't know American history, don't know American government. We don't know, our citizens don't know how the Constitution is supposed to work. Well, a great answer to that problem is to read the Federalists. You know, the Federalists were written by Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, and James Madison in the months after the Constitution was signed in Philadelphia in September 1787. They're written to convince the American people to pass the Constitution. And I find them to be amazingly wise, just incredibly wise, incredibly knowledgeable about world history. And I find them to be the prescription for how the Constitution was actually supposed to function. Sometimes I say the Anti-federalists turned out to be kind of predictive. The Anti-federalists, which you should read as well, and I'm going to give you an answer to, I'm going to give you a way to do both of those in a minute. But the Anti-federalists were pretty predictive about how the Constitution may evolve over time. You know, they predicted, for instance, that we would devolve into being centered on the presidency, and presidential power will grow over time exponentially, and which it certainly has. They predicted a more consolidated government than they wanted, baked into the cake of the Constitution. The judiciary, Alexander Hamilton will call the judiciary the least dangerous branch in the Federalists. But the Anti-federalists were very concerned with the kind of power that the federal judges would come to wield over time. And of course, if you're familiar with American history, you know that has also come true. So you should read the Anti-federalists because they kind of predicted ways in which the constitutional order would evolve. But the Federalist Papers are prescriptive. They lay out the way the Constitution should function. And for my money, it's no different today than it was then. The constitutional order should function as it was intended. Again, that's my bias here. But if you haven't read the Federalists, my guess is most of you have never read all 85 Federalists. You should. If you've read 10 and 51 back in college, well, it's time to revisit those. In America in 2025, 2026, whenever you're reading this, I'm sure you understand there are so many American citizens who don't understand how the Constitution was supposed to function. They don't understand the role the president was supposed to have in the system. They don't understand the role the Senate and the House of Representatives were to play. They don't understand what kind of elections we were supposed to have. Or maybe the original system of the Electoral College and how it was supposed to function. This is the place to go. The time is now. We really need to revisit the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists, frankly. So, during the pandemic of 2020, Dr. Nathan Coleman, myself, and a staff here at the McConnell Center of great staff, set ourselves to work during that time that we had not having to be at work, and we built this book. It's called Reflection and Choice. This is my own sticker on it, so ignore that. But it's called Reflection and Choice: The Federalists, the Anti-Federalists, and the Debate That Defined America. This is the most extraordinary. This is the most extraordinary edition of the Federalist that has ever been produced. Now, it's self-serving, I understand, because it is my edition. But I think there's no question about it. No one has done what we've done in this book. So, in this book, you have all 85 Federalists, but you also have a considerable number of Anti-Federalists. And we put them right together in conversation with one another. No one's ever done that before in an edition of the Federalists. We also break apart the Federalists into sections. And so if you're concerned, you don't have to look, in most editions, like my edition, my original edition, it just has Federalist 1, Federalist 2, Federalist 3, Federalist 4, Federalist 5, Federalist 6. In the table of contents of our book, you get sections, like Section 9 on the House of Representatives, Section 10 on elections, times, places, and manners, Section 13 on the judiciary, Section 14 on the Bill of Rights and final argument, Section 6 on taxation and concurrent powers. We divide the Federalists into topics, and then we put anti-Federalist arguments against them right next to them so that you can read both sides and you can think through how the Constitution should function today. We also put little introductions into each one of these, and we ask questions for our time, study questions. So this is a fantastic edition of the Federalist Papers. You can find it on Amazon. I don't make any money. I don't make a dime on this book, so we do it as a public service. So I hope you'll give it some consideration. But if not, if you prefer cheaper paperback like this, you want to read the Federalist, do it. And here's another thing I'm going to offer you, and then I'm going to talk a little substance. But if you go to the McConnell Center website, go to the McConnell Center's website, you'll find there links to the book Reflection and Choice, but you'll also find a reading guide that will help you work through all 85 Federalists, and if you have our edition, the Anti-Federalists as well. And it's self-guided. I designed it as to be done over a year, so monthly chunks to be designed read over a year, but you can take it at your own pace. Take 2 years, take 3 years, take 6 months, take a month, whatever you've got, time you've got, it's there. We've also, and I'll have our producer put it in the show notes as well, links to this, our podcast Vital Remnants, where one of our seasons, we devoted the entire season to reading the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists and reading Reflection and Choice. And so you have that resource there as well. So if you pick up the reading guide, you pick up a copy of the Federalist, or you pick up Reflection and Choice, even better, and then you set about to work and at your own pace. And so I will be there with you. I've laid out the study questions and the reading guide for you. I'm also there with 12 episodes of a podcast where I will then walk you through every single one of the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists that we've included in their arguments. So we'll put the link in the show notes, but it's all there to help you out. It's all set up for your success. Substantively, why you should read the Federalist is beyond what I've just said about you need to know what your constitutional order, how it's supposed to function. But besides that, there's so much wisdom here. If you just take Federalist 1, we all know we live in this age of bitter partisanship. We live in this age of vitriol. We live in the age of cancel culture. And we feel like it's, everything is so bad right now. It's never been this bad before. It's all something new under the sun. Pick up Federalist 1. Federalist 1, just start right there. This is Alexander Hamilton writing as Publius. And it's all counseling us toward moderation. Counseling us toward moderation. And he will tell us, there are people that just have honest disagreements with us. They're not evil. There will be people that will oppose the Constitution because, not because they're evil, but because maybe they have a preconceived jealousy, or maybe they have a fear that is not warranted, but it doesn't make them evil. He says, if you understand that, this circumstance, if duly attended to, would always furnish a lesson in moderation to those who are engaged in any controversy, however well persuaded of being in the right. No matter how persuaded you are of being in the right, the lesson of the Federalist One is moderation. Here he says this, were there not even these inducements to moderation, nothing could be more ill-judged than the intolerant spirit which has at all times characterized political parties. For in politics, as in religion, it is equally absurd to aim at making proselytes by fire and sword. Heresies in either can rarely be cured by persecution. Boy, how many of your friends online need to understand that, right? Here's another line, all from Federalist One. A torrent of angry and malignant passions will be let loose. To judge from the conduct of the opposite parties, we shall be led to conclude that they will mutually hope to evince the justness of their opinions and to increase the number of their converts by the loudness of their declamations and by the bitterness of their invectives. Boy, in our social media culture, we need Federalist One. You should read it. Start there. Read Federalist One. And I think you'll find some great wisdom. Share it on social media because a lot of your friends need Federalist One, I think, for that. Besides that, look, our political system has been off kilter for a long time. It doesn't function the way the founders intended. This is a guide to help you understand how it was intended, to help you understand and consider how you might want it in the future. It'll help you understand how they expected our presidents to act, how they expected our congressmen to act, our representatives to act. It'll help you understand how vitally important it is that we have separation of powers and checks and balances, where the legislature actually resists the encroachment of the executive. And the executive actively resists the encroachment on its power from the legislature. And the states resist the federal government when the federal government gets out of bounds. It's a system. It's laid out in the Federalists. It's laid out beautifully in the Federalists. Something to contemplate. And even if, at the end of the day, you're not going to like that founding vision, you think we're beyond that now. We don't need separation of powers and checks and balances anymore. And instead, what we need is a more efficient government, a quicker acting government, etc. Well, you'll find arguments here that will, I think, sharpen your arguments for the political system that you want. So, I urge you as Americans to understand, read and understand the Federalist Papers. Read the anti-federalist arguments as well. You're going to be better citizens. You're going to be better voters. You're going to be better consumers of the news than you are today if you give us that time and do it. So I urge you, read the Federalist Papers, and you will not be disappointed in how beneficial it is to you.